Hi, this is Beth from the Sterling Public Library, and I'm here to talk about a couple of books from our young adult collection, and also happy St. Patrick's Day. The first one I want to talk about, this one just came out yesterday. It's called Namesake, but it's the second book in a duology, and I actually haven't read this one because I just read this one, which is the first book in the duology. And isn't this cool? Look at this. I love it when they do stuff like this. Anyway. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Fable because this was super good. I'm really excited about reading Namesake. I waited to read this one until the next one came out because I don't like to wait for the next book in the series. This one came out last year. So Fable is a fantasy book, and I'm going to read you the first line. And there is a bleep in it, which I will bleep, but even though it's in the first line, there's not a lot of swearing in this book, but there is a little bit. That bleep was leaving me again. So, Fable is it's an adventure fantasy. It's sort of pirates and adventures on the sea. Fable is a girl who was abandoned on an island of thieves, left to fend for herself until she could earn enough money to get herself off the island. I'm not going to really go into her backstory because I don't want to give too much away. Anyway, Fable, the main character I really liked her as a character. She's super strong, she gets into these jams and she just like gets herself out of them. I mean, she's not perfect, but she's super gritty and she's got this special talent that borders on magic. And I expect I will read a little bit more about that in the second book. Anyway, very fun book. Lots of adventure on the seas, treasure, a little bit of romance, although it's kind of a subplot, but it's there. But very fun. Kept me interested, and I'm super excited about starting the next one. Okay, the other book I want to talk about is this one. It's called, you know what, I forgot to tell you who wrote this book. Adrienne Young, if you didn't see it. The other book I want to talk about is this one. It's called The Library of Lost Things, and it's by Laura Taylor Namey, and it came out in 2019. I will read you the first line. This is in the realistic fiction. Well, no, I think we have it in romance, but it's a little bit of both. The first line is, I'd read enough stories to know how they worked. So this is about a girl named Darcy, who's a high schooler who loves books. But she has an issue. She lives with her mother in an apartment, and her mother is a hoarder. And it's very difficult for Darcy. She's kind of ashamed of it. She doesn't let anybody in. She doesn't want anybody to know, except she has one best friend she's had since grade school that knows. But she has a problem that her apartment building has a new manager and is doing things, and she's afraid they're going to come into her apartment and they're going to get in trouble and get evicted, and she doesn't know what they'll do. So she works in a bookstore after school, and one day somebody comes in, a boy comes in who named Asher, who has his own issues, and it is a romance also. So there is that, but there's a lot of good relationships in this book. I mean, the relationship between Darcy and her mother, between Darcy and her best friend, and as well as the romance are all really interesting relationships. And I really like Darcy in that she really grows in this book. She learns a lot about life. And I think the most important lesson she learns is about letting people in. And even though she's very ashamed of her mother, not her mother herself, but what her mother does, and she doesn't want anybody to know it, she really learns about letting people in and telling the truth. And because let's face it, we all have things that we're ashamed of, but we'll never get them taken care of and cleaned up until we fess up, until we get them out in the open and deal with them. Hiding things never helps. So I do like that about this book a lot. So if you like realistic fiction or romance, or, it's got a little bit of mental illness wrap with her mother, pick this one up. It was a really good book. All right, that's all I have for you today. You guys have a good week.